My fiancé and my maid of honor planned a secret wedding behind my back, so I let them pay for the entire reception before canceling the marriage. Before we dive into today's story, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel, and if you enjoy real-life stories filled with drama, betrayal, and shocking twists, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because you don't want to miss what happens next. Now let's get into today's story. They say the bride should be the last person to see the dress, but when I found a second wedding dress hidden in my fiance's office and a secret guest list that didn't include a single member of my family, I realized I wasn't the bride, I was the financier. My fiancé, Mark, and my maid of honor, Chloe, weren't just having an affair. They were planning to use my $50,000 non-refundable wedding deposit to marry each other the day after our supposed breakup. They thought they were being clever. They didn't realize that in the state of New York, a wedding contract is only valid if the person paying for it is actually at the altar. Mark was the perfect guy, or so I thought. Chloe had been my best friend since college. For months, they told me I was stressed and paranoid whenever I asked why they were spending so much time together helping me plan. I found the shadow wedding planner on Mark's laptop. He had contacted all my vendors. He told the florist, the caterer, and the venue that there had been a change in the bride's name due to a legal clerical error. He'd even diverted my grandmother's heirloom ring to be resized for Chloe's finger. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. I continued to play the stressed bride for 3 weeks. I even went to brunch with Chloe and let her comfort me while she was literally wearing the necklace Mark bought her with our joint savings. I needed them to reach the day of the rehearsal dinner. I needed the food to be cooked, the flowers to be cut, and the final checks to be cashed. Because I wanted to make sure that when the curtain fell, they were left with a $50,000 bill and a room full of people who knew exactly who they were. The public toast, the reveal of the secret photos, and the moment the vendors realized who was actually paying. The night before the wedding at the rehearsal dinner, the room was filled with our families. Mark and Chloe were sitting suspiciously close, whispering and laughing. Mark stood up to give a toast to his beautiful bride. "I want to toast to the woman who made all this possible," Mark said, looking at me with a fake pitying smile. I stood up. "Actually, Mark, I'd like to say a few words first." I walked to the front of the room and plugged my phone into the projector meant for the couple's slideshow. "I wanted to show everyone the hard work Mark and Chloe have been doing behind my back," I said. Instead of childhood photos, the screen filled with screenshots of their secret wedding planner, their texts mocking my gullibility, and a photo of Chloe trying on her wedding dress in my house. The room went silent. Mark's face went from white to purple. Chloe tried to hide her face, but there was nowhere to go. I've spent the last 3 weeks making sure every single vendor was paid in full, using the emergency fund Mark thought I didn't know about, I told the shocked guests. But here's the thing. I've also filed an injunction. Since the contracts are in my name and the event was modified without my consent, the venue has agreed to lock the doors for tomorrow's secret ceremony. The $50,000 bill focus, the legal fallout, the return of the heirloom, and the final walkaway. Mark tried to grab my arm. "You can't do this. That money is gone. We have nowhere to go." "Oh, the money is definitely gone, Mark," I said, pulling my hand away. "But since you and Chloe authorized the changes as my agents, the vendors are now suing you personally for the remaining balance and the breach of contract fees. You wanted a wedding? You got one. Too bad there's no bride, no venue, and no family left to watch you say, 'I do.'" I took my grandmother's ring back right off Chloe's finger. I walked out of that restaurant and went straight to the airport. I'd used the last of the honeymoon miles to book a solo trip to Bali. Mark and Chloe never got married. They couldn't afford the legal fees, let alone a new venue. They're currently living in a cramped studio apartment, still paying off the wedding of the century that never actually happened. They say a wedding is the happiest day of your life. For me, it was the day I didn't get married. I lost a cheating fiancé and a fake best friend, but I gained a $50,000 lesson in self-worth. If you're going to go behind my back, make sure you don't use my pen to sign the check, because in the end, I'm the one who closed the account, and trust me, the silence is worth every penny. The rehearsal dinner was held at a waterfront bistro. Mark was playing the role of the doting fiancé to perfection, while Chloe sat next to me, patting my hand and telling me I looked exhausted and should probably go home early tonight to rest. She was already wearing the shadow bride smile. She thought that by this time tomorrow, she'd be the one walking down the aisle while I was being ghosted. Mark stood up, clinking his glass. "I'd like to make a toast," he said, looking around the room. "To the woman who made all of this possible. Your generosity has truly built the foundation for the future." He was looking at me, but he was talking to Chloe. The room clapped. I stayed seated. "Actually, Mark," I said, my voice steady enough to stop the room, "I have a tribute of my own. Since you and Chloe worked so hard on the logistics while I was busy paying the bills, I thought I'd share some of the progress photos. I walked over to the AV setup. The wedding planner, the real one, had helped me set this up an hour ago. I hit play. The screen didn't show engagement photos. It showed a screenshot of Mark's email to the florist changing the bouquet from my favorites to Chloe's, a photo of Chloe in her secret wedding dress taken by the hidden camera I'd installed in the guest room, a PDF of the alternate guest list titled Mark and Chloe's Real Wedding, July 12th. The room went deathly silent. My mother gasped. Mark's father stood up, his face turning a deep shade of purple. "What is this?" Mark stammered, his face drained of all color. "This is a joke, right? Some kind of weird prank?" "The only prank, Mark, is the one where you thought I wouldn't notice you moving $20,000 from our joint savings into a consulting account for Chloe," I said, walking toward them. "Or the one where Chloe thought she could resize my grandmother's ring and I wouldn't feel the difference in the jewelry box." Chloe tried to stand up, her eyes darting toward the exit. "It's not what it looks like. We were just planning a surprise." "Oh, it's a surprise, all right," I replied. "I've already spoken to the venue. Since the $50,000 deposit was paid by me and the contract was altered without the primary payer's signature, I've officially canceled the event. The doors are locked. The flowers have been donated to a local hospital. And the catering? I told them to feed the homeless." Mark grabbed my arm, his voice a frantic whisper. "You can't do that. That's 50 grand down the drain. We're broke." "Correction, you are broke," I said, pulling my arm away, "because I also filed a notice of financial misappropriation with the bank. The money you stole for Chloe's dress and your secret honeymoon, it's being flagged as theft. The vendors are coming after you for the remaining balances because I've officially removed my name from every single contract." I looked at the entire room, our friends, our family. "The wedding is canceled, but please finish the wine. It's the last thing Mark will be able to afford for a very, very long time." The chaos in the bistro was deafening. My parents were demanding answers, and Mark was currently in the middle of a shouting match with the venue manager, who was explaining that since the event sponsor, me, had revoked all authorizations, he was personally liable for the $8,000 rehearsal dinner tab. I walked over to Chloe. She was curled up in her chair, trying to hide her face behind her hair. I didn't say a word. I just reached out, grabbed her left hand, and slid my grandmother's diamond off her finger. "This belonged to a woman who knew what loyalty meant," I said, putting the ring in my pocket. "You're not even worth the gold plating on a fake one." The next morning, while Mark and Chloe were likely staring at a locked venue door and a mountain of breach of contract notices, I was at the bank. Because I had documented the shadow wedding as a fraudulent use of my funds, the bank froze our joint account. Mark had spent the last of our money on a non-refundable honeymoon package to the Maldives. Since he had used my credit card to book it, I didn't cancel it. I just changed the name on the second ticket to my mother's. A week later, I received a frantic, pathetic email from Mark. He and Chloe had been evicted from their apartment because they couldn't make rent after the bank clawback. Chloe's dream dress was sitting in a pawn shop window, and Mark's parents had officially disowned him for the public embarrassment. He tried to apologize. He said he got lost and that Chloe manipulated him. I didn't reply. I just sent him a photo of the Maldives sunset and a copy of the police report for the misappropriated funds I'd filed. People say that being jilted at the altar is a nightmare, but being the one who pulls the rug out before the altar? That's a dream. I lost a fiancé and a best friend, but I saved a lifetime of being gaslit by two people who deserved each other. Mark and Chloe got their secret life together, but it turns out that without my bank account to fund it, their love didn't have much of a foundation. I'm currently sitting on a beach drinking a cocktail that Mark will be paying off for the next 3 years, and honestly, it's the best wedding present I could have ever given myself.